Code here today at the Seashore Trolley Museum, and today we're riding Connecticut car 1160 built by the John Stephenson Company of Elizabeth, New Jersey in 1906. It is a bowling alley car. Car is departing. There's the car barn. Oh, another car barn. There's the SOACs, the last car built by Seashore Car Company. Shop. We're on the party again. We're already coming up on an old GATX tanker. It's our older cars. Old MBTA Blue Line. And old GATX tanker. Down there's some other cars. A PCC, MBTA inspection, some other MBTA stuff. Here's another railroad crossing. More siding over here. Little flat cars and wood reefers and maintenance away cars, more box cars. Is that a broke wallet? Nah, I don't think so. Here's some stuff. There's crossing and the pumpkin patch trains. Trolley car, built by John Stephenson Company of Elizabeth, New Jersey, in 1906. Take a ride up here. PCC for sure. Yeah, there's a bunch of PCC. I think that's 1361. It's like it has the Jamaican. Oh, it's a SEPTA. Oh, is that a real bullet? Okay. That'd be right. Yep, I think it's a real bullet. Yeah, it's a SEPTA real bullet. Wow.
Okay, welcome to the middle of nowhere. Right now we're basically about halfway between two towns, Kennebunk and Biddeford. So it came up between the two is about 8 miles. So picture if we're going to Biddeford up the road. We've gone 4 miles. We're only halfway there. So if we're walking, that is going to take us all day just to get up there. Never mind, we have to trek back to our house somewhere back in Kennebunkport. Well, we're going to go back in time a little bit. Back in the late 1800s, the only transportation was the railroad and a boat. And the boat doesn't do very good right here. Walking, and if you're lucky, you might have a horse and wagon if you owned a farm, but I don't know if you're going to use that for a daily commuter, your horse and buggy. So basically, on foot was the way to go. So getting from place to place was very difficult, even in a big city. I'm from Boston area. Back in the 1800s, to go from one neighborhood of Boston to the other, even if it's 2 or 3 miles, again, that's a long trek to get there. So back then, people generally worked, went to school, shopped in their neighborhood or a small town. That's where everything was. Very rarely did they get to go someplace else. Now, there were forms of transportation. One was called the omnibus. An omnibus was like a stagecoach, but it was very expensive because an omnibus could only hold maybe 10 or 15 people. So the cost to get somewhere, to take an omnibus from, say, Kennebunkport to Biddeford, is going to cost a lot of money, plus it's going to be a bumpy ride because they are, number one, on dirt roads that weren't very good, and they had big wheels pulled by horses. Once the trolley was invented, and the trolley started originally, they were horse-drawn. The streetcars, they were horse-drawn. The reason is when you put something on rails, it pulls a lot easier than something on wheels. So that's why the railroads are so efficient. So someone got the idea, why don't we put a coach on tracks, it's level, it's smooth, and the horses don't have to work so hard. But then again, you're limited to how big you can make that streetcar because the horses are pulling it. Someone in Richmond, Virginia, figured out how to put an electric motor onto one of those horse-drawn streetcars. And that's how the trolley was invented. Now, if you look at the size of this car is huge, and it's not our biggest. We have another streetcar that was run in the streets that's 52 feet long, so it's probably another 10 feet beyond this one. But you can see how many people we have in here. This is not even crowded yet. So now you can fit a lot of people in here, and plus you had standee room, so now you can bring the cost of getting place to place a lot cheaper. So trolley companies sprung up all over the place. Any little town, a corporation can come in and say, hey, we'll put a trolley system in, and say from even Biddeford, Saco, 2 towns, they had the Biddeford Saco Street Railway Company. So again, it was prosperous for them to put in a trolley line, so people got excited about that. It allowed them a little bit more freedom. So now you didn't have to shop in your neighborhood anymore. You could go across town and get a discount. You didn't have to work in your neighborhood because you could take another job in another neighborhood. The only problem with that is trolley companies, when they went into a city or a town, they had a charter to run 7 days a week. The problem is, how do we get riders on this car on Sunday, because we have to operate on Sunday. We need a Sunday schedule. And we're paying 2 people to operate the car. We're running the car up and down the tracks, and we're not making any money. So what they did is they decided to find a destination, a lake, a river, the ocean, and run their tracks out there where people couldn't get to. And that way they decided to say, hey, let's put a gazebo in, let's put a picnic area in, let's put boating in, let's put canoeing in. And that's what they did. They built a destination or a trolley park. Got people to ride the trolleys on Sundays. The other thing they could do is they could have people ride at night because they had lights. Back in the 1800s, late 1800s, electricity wasn't a big deal back then. So that got people to ride the trolleys. There's only so many picnics you can go to before you get bored with picnics. So the one thing that happened is we have electricity, we have motors, and we have controllers to control those motors. So now they decided to say, why don't we purchase a Ferris wheel? Why don't we purchase a carousel? And why don't we build a small amusement park? And amusement parks started to spring up from trolley parks. So some trolley companies kept their basic trolley parks, which were picnic rows, or bandstands, or boating or canoeing, and other trolley companies built amusement parks. So now they could bring their people out to amusement parks, and not only did they get you for the fare, but they also got you for the amusement rides. And what they also did is, if this trolley line was the Atlantic Shore Line, it ran from Kittery to Biddeford. Now, if I wanted to go to Saco, which is the next town over from Biddeford, I'd have to get on a Biddeford and Saco trolley. So I have to switch trolleys to go one town over. But, so they wouldn't let the Atlantic Shoreline run into Saco. They had to stop at Biddeford. But if there was an amusement park in Saco, I'm sure the Biddeford Saco would allow the Atlantic Shoreline to cross their tracks, not picking up passengers, but bring their people to their amusement park so they could make money. So that happened a lot. A lot of trolley companies will allow other trolley companies to use their tracks to get people to their destination. They wouldn't allow them to pick up passengers for revenue. Okay, so out of the 1,000 plus trolley parks built around 1927 or so, 1920, there's only 11 left. Anybody from New Hampshire? You know Kennebunkport Lake Park? That was a trolley park. That started as a trolley park. And I'm pretty sure where they have the pinball gaming room, that was the trolley station. Okay, so there's only 11 left in the country that were built by trolley companies. They're not owned by trolley companies, obviously, but there's still 11 left, originals. The Atlantic Shoreline, a little about that. We actually came up the right-of-way of the Atlantic Shoreline. The Atlantic Shoreline was a electric railway that went from, in its heyday, in its biggest form, went from Kittery all the way up to Biddeford. Most of the track was cutting through using the town roads. They also went from Cape Porpoise up to Sanford, so it covered a lot of ground. This is the only part of the right-of-way that actually went through farmland. So the straightaway that we came up, and most of this land, this was all farmland in the 20s. Unfortunately for us, by a stroke of luck, we actually acquired the right-of-way from the entrance, and we still have the right-of-way all the way up to Biddeford. So someday we might even get up to Biddeford. The bad part is that in 1927, the Atlantic Shoreline went out of business and ripped up all the track and took down all the wires. So all the track that you see up to this point, which is about 1.6 miles, was all put down by volunteers. And most of our people that work in the museum are all volunteers. We have about 7 to 10 people who are paid, but mostly everybody, the people who work on the tracks, people who restore the cars, people like Stan and I who operate, we're all volunteers to keep the museum going. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Did they run on a standard train gauge? Or
This is a standard railroad gauge. Some companies in Pennsylvania ran a little wider, but most of them ran, and the reason for that is they didn't want somebody to cross into their section because they couldn't bring the trolley over. Yeah, but this is a standard railroad gauge right here. The Atlantic Shoreline was interesting because not only did it run passengers, it also ran freight. It actually started as a freight railroad to bring coal from the docks in Cape Porpoise up to the mills in Sanford. So that's how it started as a freight railway. And then they kept on adding pieces to it. Yeah.
I keep hearing him started. Is it now gasoline?
Yeah. Now we have no exhaust pipe. That little noise you hear is a good sign. It's an air compressor. And the reason why we like air compressors is because we have air brakes. If we have no air compressor running, then we have no air brakes. But we do have a big handle here, which is not a steering wheel. That's a hand brake. Okay. So yeah, that's a compressor. It's run a compressor. The one thing you gotta notice about a trolley, they're very, very efficient. Right now, except for this, that's the compressor running, building up air pressure. When it's stopping, and we're stopped right here, the only electricity we're drawing is the lights. Now once we start going down the hill, you notice Stan's going to take some power, and then at a point he's going to cut the power off, and we're just going to coast all the way down. So technically, if we wanted to, we could probably get a good running start, and we could probably, if the track was good, we could coast all the way down to the visitor center almost by just taking one set of power at the top of the hill and coast all the way down. That's only a 65-foot hill too, so it's not like a big hill. So I'm going to get some clearance, and then we'll head back down. We'll make one stop at Great Rocks.
She had a question.
The amusement park in Old Orchard, is it a trolley park as well? I don't believe it is, but there's a lot of them along the coast were trolley parks as well, and so some of the beaches there were formed by the trolley parks. So up in this part of the country, they would rather take people to the beach, serve them lobster dinners, dance, than put it in these.
There's actually a former like shoreline right away in Bedford and Suffolk.
Okay, so we're clearing to Morrison Hill. How many bells does he have to ring to tell me to go? Anybody guess? Two. You're right.
Yeah, on a two-person car, the conductor was in charge of the car itself. The operator was more concerned with operating the car. Again, to save money, they said, oh, let's get rid of the conductor and just have one person operate. So,
She does standard FRA procedure. Alright. Sorry for that. It's awful. Yeah.
Okay, we're at a stop called Gregoire's Crossing. Now, again, this part of the railway went through farmland. So back in the 1920s, this was like kind of dairy farms here, all the way down. Wow. Now, why is Gregoire's important? Well, having eminent domain, people today say, well, eminent domain put a trolley line through my property. That's a big deal. About back to John Gregoire. Remember, back then, you know, to go to the nearest town, it's 4 miles in either direction. So that's a day project. Now he's got a trolley that his house is about 50 yards up this path. So John Gregoire could actually walk down here, or his wife could hop on the trolley, go shopping, and then come back and let him off at the house. The other thing it provided was that John Gregoire worked in a foundry up in the mills, up in Bedford Saco. He wasn't making a lot of money on his farm. He made more money working up in the foundry. So what he would do in the morning, he would flag the trolley down coming this way, get on the trolley, go to work, and then on the way back, he'd take the trolley back, they'd stop at his house, at this stop, and he'd walk up the path and go to his house. So that was the benefit of having a trolley line running through your property, is that you had access to a transportation. So, and it only took about the right of way, which is probably about 60 or so feet wide by the length of it. So, and the other thing about this, you notice this track is perfectly straight. They did that because this was the quickest way, once they came out of Kennebunkport, to shortcut up the Bedford. Instead of going all the way out Log Cabin and then going up Route 1, this was a shortcut to go up to, and this is also the town line too. Kennebunkport is on that side, and Arundel is on that side. Okay. Okay, so we are gonna head down the hill. The Atlantic shoreline didn't have a amusement park. They had a casino. It wasn't a gambling casino. It was a dining hall, dance hall type casino. It was located at Cape Porpoise, which is right in the ocean. So their big Sunday ridership was to take you out to the casino where you could have a full shore dinner, 2 lobsters and the whole works for 50 cents. Right? So that was their way of generating extra fares. A little history there.
How much was it there?
Back then about 5 cents. But the Atlantic shoreline did something a little different. They had fare zones. They had the farther you went, the more you paid. Which is ironic because Gregoire's Crossing was a fare zone. So if you're going past Gregoire's, it's another nickel. If you're coming this way, it was another nickel. The problem is, what if you didn't have a nickel? You're in the middle of nowhere. So, but what about the museum itself? Back in 1939, there were a few guys from Boston were going on a field trip on a trolley up at Lewiston, Portland. They heard that the benefit Salto was converted to buses and their trolleys. So they decided to make a long story short, pull some money and buy a trolley. For $150, they bought a trolley car. Problem was, benefit said you can't keep it here, you gotta put it somewhere else. So these guys were not railroad or trolley people, they were college students. So what they did was look for a piece of land, and fortunately, at the end of our driveway, the Atlantic shoreline right away was still intact. So the farmer could use a little piece of land. So what they did is they plugged the trolley car down at the end of our driveway, you come in, it's on the right, that's where they started the first trolley car. And little did they know that now they purchased this hole right away, and all the land around it over since 1939. So if you go into our highway guide, you actually see the original trolley that they purchased in 1939. So this is the oldest trolley museum in the country, and it's also the largest in the country. We have probably 200 vehicles, probably 100 of them are restored in pretty good condition, 50 of them are restored in real good condition, and about 10 to 12 are running condition. They're not duplicates, they're all originals. One of the problems we have is we don't have a trolleys or our spot store. So we either have to manufacture or find somewhere to another trolley museum a specific part. But all these have all been refinished. When we get them, they're basically shells and all brought away. So you can see the work that's been put into buildings coming back. When we have them in this condition, we make them as close as historical as possible. So even up to the straps, up to the finishing of the top and the woodwork.
How much does it cost to restore a trolley?
Up to $100,000. Sometimes it takes 30 years. We're non-profit, we don't get any government money. We get a few little grants, but not. It's a private non-profit, so everything is run based on donations and
shave. Oh, look at that, New Jersey Transit PCC. Here we go at this crossing.
Okay, right here, we're gonna give you a few options. You're free, you can ride all day long, tickets, your ticket. This is the Morrison Hill stop. If you get off here and go to my right, up that little path, there's a little staircase. That's our restoration shop. That's where we restore and repair the cars. To my left is what we call the Riverside Barn. Inside there are restored cars. You're welcome to walk through the barns. If the car is open, you're welcome to walk on the car itself. We've got a beautiful car from Cleveland. It's a center entrance car. It's about 10 feet longer than this car. It's got a coal stove. It was just finished last year. It's a beautiful car. And if you go down the road to the bus, take a right, we have a bigger barn called Highwood, which even has more cars in there. Number 1 is the original Benefit Sacco, number 31. We also have a unusual tour car from Montreal. There's only 4 of them built. And it's open, totally open with stadium seating in it. And we also have a couple of interurban cars in there from Chicago and Philadelphia. And those interurban cars could hit 80 miles an hour. This car is a city car, so it wasn't made to go 80. It was made to go maybe 25, 30, because it was a stop and go car. But we have some interurbans that would hit actually 80 miles an hour back in the 1930s. So you're welcome to get off here. You can pick up a trolley at this point going in or out. The next car out is from Wheeling, West Virginia. That's another beautiful car. So
Does it matter which way we get out or we go?
It's a little safer on that side.
Okay.
Connecticut car 1160 is in the park. Alright, so first we're going up to the restoration shop. This was started out as a ride video only. Now we're going to do a whole tour. Wild men pulled their whiskers out. That's what made them wild. I love these signs. So here's the New Jersey Transit PCC. There's a ton of PCCs here. There's the blue line car, older blue line cars again. Nation Gallery. Townhouse Restoration Shop, 1969. Here's the NJT PCC. Theodore crossing. All this. Maybe. Stairs into the restoration shop. Portland and Lewistown into Oregon. Car number 14, there's this use. So this car actually carried Teddy Roosevelt on August 18th, 1914. Car number 14. It's undergoing restoration. Oh, here we go. Here's some information on the New Jersey Transit PCC car. $1946. Wow. Okay. Boston Suburban. Oh, Toronto. TTC Peter Witt. $28.90. I do not know where this one is, but I'm going to try to look for it. SIPTA PCC 2709, September 15th, 2007. Is this the Peter Witt?
Yeah. Oh, really? You won't go out that way? Yeah.
Back this way?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going back this way? Go across for the SOACs and whatnot. I'll grab your car from Wheeling, West Virginia. Is that the Peter Witt? Well, let me get some info on the Peter Witt. Here comes Wheeling Traction Company, 639. Look at this nice crossing. And here's some other cars. Here's Connecticut car 38, open car, 5821, 1227. Is this a PCC? It looks like a PCC. I think. Oh my God! Look at this. It's a Chicago North Shore Silverliner.
Wow.
Wow. Chicago North Shore 755, built 1930. Stopped service 1939. It was South Shore Line, one of Samuel Insull's Chicago interurban, still survives today. But this is an this was the last to be abandoned, and I don't know if the South Shore is going to be abandoned. So Massachusetts Street Railway. North Shore Line. Not too many of these cars. Wow. Going in a North Shore Silverliner. Controls. Just the horn? No. Very dark in here. Look at all these seats. Oh my God, this is all so beautiful. You used to take these cars downtown Milwaukee, downtown Chicago. Wow. I love North Shore Line. It is a great car. Controls of CNSM 730. Alright guys, thank you for watching. This has been Cookode. Please like and subscribe. Right here we have a Long Island MP54 and an orange crate from the South Shore, the original South Shore, with a little train that could sticker. Look at this. It's one of the most amazing things I've seen here, I have to say. So thank you. And we also got a few New York City cars. But anyways, thank you. This has been Cookode out.